Hi and welcome to My Business Rules. I'm Chris Bishop. Now I'm in Sandton City in Johannesburg and I'm at the birth of a new business venture that's called a beauty shop for men. It's not really my cup of tea, but it does give me the chance to meet a veteran entrepreneur, Ian Fuhr, who's been coming up with business ideas in Johannesburg for more than 40 years. Oh, and by the way, they're going to try and do something for me.
Okay, hi there, my name is Ian Fuhr. I'm the CEO and the founder of the Sorbet group of salons, nail bars, dry bars, and now of course Sorbet Man. I'd like to believe that my business rules because we have differentiated ourselves from the masses out there in terms of the quality of our service, the quality of our products, the way we treat our guests, and of course also the way we look after our staff.
Here we are. I'm with Ian Fuhr, serial entrepreneur, veteran entrepreneur. We're sitting in the middle of your new venture, which is basically sorbet for men.
That's right, Sorbet Man.
Sorbet Man.
Yes.
Which is, well, in a way it's charted territory. In some ways uncharted territory for you. Do you really think people are ready for this sort of thing? I mean, it's not quite...
Absolutely.
With the image.
There's a huge trend towards men's grooming all over the world, and certainly in South Africa as well. We think the timing is perfect.
And this is your very first store here in Sandton. And
Correct.
what kind of response have you had since you opened the door?
It's been fantastic, Chris, so far. In fact, it's been one of the best sorbet openings that we've ever had, believe it or not. So yeah, it's very exciting and we're looking forward to more of the same.
Okay, well, I'm about to become one of them today, but what kind of men
Brace yourself.
coming in here for grooming, you know? It's not really my thing, I'll be honest with you.
But you never know, we could convert you.
It's a bit late in the day, but carry on. What kind of people do you think are into this sort of thing?
I think men that are interested in themselves and the way they present themselves and their grooming. I think more and more people, men in particular, are looking at how they can present themselves better in terms of their work and their social environment. So grooming has become very important.
So grooming is very important, but I mean for you, I mean this is there's sort of another step in a very long career. I mean you've done almost everything, including you're a music entrepreneur.
Correct. Back in the 70s and 80s, I was in retailing initially, and then I had a record company that started around about 1980 that recorded a lot of the expat South Africans, Leto Mbulu and Kaifa Semenya, Hugh Masekela and the likes, and then went on back to retailing for a while, and then I went into race relations, consulting. Yes, I took a few twists and turns in my entrepreneurial journey. And
also you met the late great Whitney Houston at some stage in your career.
Correct.
Yeah.
In 1984 we were invited as one of the licensees of the Arista record label. We were invited to New York to be at the launch of Whitney's first album. She was 19 years old, and yeah, it was fantastic.
And then fast forward, 2005, the birth of Sorbet. You started with one store.
Correct. We bought up a store in Bedford View and then a second in Norwood just shortly after that, just to learn the beauty salon business. And then we rebranded it under the Sorbet brand and launched it in August 2005 with 6 stores at that stage.
And turnover at the beginning, roughly in US dollars?
Hard to come by.
Yeah,
Hard
really?
to come by.
Was it?
Indeed, yes. I remember one particular store, I called them and I said, how's it going? They said, it's very, very quiet in the morning and then it tapers off in the afternoon. So
that's a good one. That's a good excuse, actually, isn't it? Nice one.
Yeah, no, she said every half an hour nothing happened. So yeah, it was hard in the beginning, but and we first had to open a number of company stores. We had to open, in fact, 22 company-owned stores before we could franchise our first store, which we eventually did in 2009. So those first 4 or 5 years were pretty difficult, I must say.
And that first year, I mean, how much were you turning over?
We must have done maybe 4 million or 4 or 5 million in total between 6 stores, which was very small.
And that's about $400,000, $500,000.
Yeah.
And fast forward to today, you're doing like...
And 360 million this year.
$36 million. And how many stores have you got now?
110 at the moment, but we'll have 117 by the end of the calendar year.
It's going right across the country. Any plans to go further across the continent?
Yes, we're looking at Africa. We get a lot of franchise applications from various countries north of us, and we're looking to open our first store in London within the next 6 months. Yeah.
Okay, and then the continent, when do you think that'll be?
Well, we're hoping next year. We're hoping next year. We have a few leads at the moment, but I think it's a bit of a process that we need to go through to set up a structure that can service in the African continent.
This is a very tough business. I mean, just look around here where we're sitting in Santon. I mean, there's shops everywhere doing this sort of thing. How tough is it?
I think the important thing is to try and differentiate yourself from the masses out there, because there's huge competition in terms of numbers, but very few branded chains. And I think the real differentiation for us is not only the look and feel of the store, but more importantly, the culture of the business, the people, and the service culture that we've tried to create over the years. We believe very strongly that people come to work to serve, not to make money. And if they serve well, then the money will come, and that's been our philosophy, and I think it has helped us a lot in terms of establishing our brand.
But what about the amount of money in people's pockets? I mean, one thing, some of the you were in the supermarket business.
Yes, yeah.
Some of the friends I know who've got supermarkets, they say to me sometimes, they say, Chris, look at this, it's empty. It's like it's Christmas. What's going on? There's
It's
no
hard.
money.
I think it's a bit of a shrinking pie, which means that you have to fight harder for your share of that pie, and that's what we've been doing. Our growth at the moment is still very, very strong. Our year-on-year growth for same stores is 17%, which is quite a lot higher than most people are achieving at the moment. So I think the strength of the brand has really come through, and is starting to make a big difference.
And what about that bugbear of all businesses right now, costs? How do you keep a rein in on that?
Well, and because we're a franchise business, our own costs are mainly focused around our support office. And the main issue there is to have an infrastructure that can support all the franchisees around the country. So yeah, there is a growing cost there. As we grow, we need to obviously increase the size of that infrastructure. But it's not that critical in terms of the numbers of stores. So the number of stores in terms of percentage is outgrowing our cost increases at the moment. So that's making it easier for us.
Now, you've been an entrepreneur in Africa like 40 years plus. How would you say it differs from when you were young to now? I mean, how much meaner and leaner do you have to be?
I think it's important to realize what success means. You know, my initial sort of measurement of success was about lifestyle, was about power, was about money, was about influence, fast cars, fast women, all of those things. Now it's quite different. When you get older, you get grey, a little wiser, and you start to realize that success is about the difference you make in other people's lives. And if you can do that effectively, that you've become successful. So I think I've changed my own paradigm about what business is about and what success means to me.
I mean, but what do you want from this? I mean, you say you've opened in London, you say maybe in the continent. Do you want to be sitting in a boardroom in 10 years' time at the head of a massive worldwide chain, or what do you want? I don't know.
Yeah, not really. I don't think I'm 61 already at the moment. That's not the end of the world, but you can see it from there. And so I think I'd like to start winding down a little bit. I have a family business. I've got my 3 kids in the business. I have a great partner. I've got my niece there, so I'm quite happy to start handing over the reins. And quite frankly, I started this business and I was the founder, but they are currently the ones that are building it. And I expect that will carry on for some time.
And you've got other entrepreneurial irons in the fire. I mean, you have a lion park and all kinds of stuff.
Yes, we have a lion park as well. I own that together with my brother. And we're going to be moving the lion park. It's been a hugely successful business now over the last 5 years. But we've sold the property and it's going to be developed there. There's going to be a residential development. And now we're going to move it a little bit up the road towards Hartbeespoort, about another 10, 15 minutes away. And we hope to be opening it in the second half of next year. It's going to be an upgraded world-class facility.
And that's a massive operation, moving a lion park. I mean, what sort of things do you have to do?
Well, you have to dart lions and you've got to, tranquilize them and move them. Yeah, but the guys that work there are very used to this kind of thing. They do it all the time. So it's not quite as intimidating as it sounds.
So in terms of being an entrepreneur, how do you want, you say you're about to wind down now. I mean, hopefully, what are your plans for this business? I mean, before you go anywhere, for the Sorbet man, how many stores do you want?
I think that we can tweak the model and then the franchising process can begin. I believe easily we can get up to 100 stores with this model. And and the dry bars and the continued growth of the beauty salons. I think that we can in total get up to 300-400 stores without much difficulty.
And as an entrepreneur, how do you want to be remembered? How people talk about you in the future? I mean, you've written a book about your life.
And that's right, I've written a book about my journey. And I feel that if I can be remembered for a person that made a difference in other people's lives, I think I'd be very comfortable with that.
And it's been tough on, it hasn't always been easy, it's been tough along the way.
No, it's tough, it's always tough. There's no easy walk to freedom, as they say.
And what would you say to a young entrepreneur who maybe is sitting at home watching this and thinking, I maybe like to do that? What would you say to them?
I'd encourage them, you know, there are lots of things that you need to be an entrepreneur, but there are three basic ones that I've identified very briefly. One is intuition. I think you need to know what is intuitively right, even without the evidence to prove it. You also need to have courage, because it takes courage to face a lot of unprecedented dangers and unforeseen problems. And then determination to see it through all the way. You know, it's a long-term project. I think the biggest problem is that people want to make a quick buck and they want to get a sort of get-rich-quick scheme. But it's a long-term process. When I started Sorbet, I gave myself 15 years at least to try and build a brand.
And what would you say maybe to an entrepreneur who's sitting there at home, he's got bills coming out of his ears, he's thinking about throwing in the towel, what would you say to him?
I'd say hang in there if you can. You know, it's not always possible, it's easy to say that, but hang in there if you can and just keep building, you know, in the right way. If you're trying to build in terms of how to make money, then you might struggle. If you're building a quality of service and a quality product and you hang in there, you might just have a chance.
Okay, well, Ian Fuhr, entrepreneur, thank you very much for sharing your story with me on My Business Rules. Now, in a second, your people here are going to try and do something for me to help my look. I don't know what success they're going to have, who knows.
Good luck, and I'm going to watch every moment of it.
Well, not quite my idea of fun on a Tuesday morning, but maybe everybody's grooming, I just haven't noticed. So that's all we've got time for on this edition of My Business Rules. From me, Chris Bishop in Santon, it's goodbye.